because I was raped at age 10 when I had not even understood what it meant to be raped. I had not even understood myself as a female. I had not understood that I had something called virginity because I came from the village anyway, just to backtrack a bit. So I came to live in the city. So it was just me barely acclimatizing to city life and understanding what life is. So I had not even gotten accustomed to feminine words or feminine nomenclature like virginity, like puberty, private parts. And then at 10, I'm raped by this young man who all I thought at that time was that he injured me. Because when the neighbor came in and saw me bleeding, I was just crying, thinking he injured me. I didn't see that he was raped. But fast forward to 2 years later, when my adopted father began to molest me, and that went on for my most formative adolescent years, from when I was 11 to like 17, it all dawned on me because I was used as a sex object. I was also being abused physically. I was beaten at the slightest provocation. I was also being abused verbally. I was told I would never amount to anything. I was called names. I was abused. It was a lot of trauma. I was abused emotionally. So, I remember somebody who said something to me some years ago when I just recently came out with my story. She said, was there no time that you enjoyed it? And that broke me because how do you enjoy the fact that somebody takes advantage of your body without your consent, first of all? And then second of all, he's not doing it from a place of love. He's doing it from a place of threat because I was told if you told anyone, you would die after 7 days. So I lived with that fear. I lived with that fear for several years. I used to say that silence was an enabler of the abuses that I went through. I lived with the fact that I was told I would die. I lived with the fact that I was told I would never amount to anything. So I struggled with a lot of mental health crises, imposter syndrome, PTSD, and what have you, just because I was abused. I've attempted suicide 4 times. And before I could attempt suicide 4 times, I can tell you that I had suicidal ideations probably 1,000 times. Because before you commit one suicide, you'd have thought of it over and over and over and over again. And so out of those 4 suicides, I attempted one at 15. I attempted the other one at 18. But I attempted the other 2 in my adulthood. As a matter of fact, 6 years ago, in 2018, I attempted suicide twice. And it was still flowing from the 23 years of bottled up trauma from sexual abuse, which led to other kinds of abuses. So you can see the long-term effect. So it wasn't until I attempted suicide twice in 2018, I took sniper, I tried to run into a moving vehicle, that it dawned on me that I had a problem. And so I just sat down one day and I began to ask questions. I was wondering, okay, so this whole thing, because there was also nightmare. I don't know what category of long-term effect to put that, but there's trauma. I dealt with nightmare. There's the trauma of nightmare. I had this nightmare for 18 years where I would constantly see my abuser in my dreams. And so these are lifelong consequences of abuse, that if the survivor, I call them jewels, by the way, because that's my NGO, Jewels I've initiative, if they do not heal from it, some of them commit suicide. They go ahead with the suicide that I attempted, and by God's grace, I'm here. Some of them actually go ahead with suicide. We've handled several cases. I had a survivor who poisoned her 20th birthday cake 2 years ago. She wrote me a letter, or rather a message, and said, by morning I would be gone. And I said, please hang in there. I love you. And she said, you don't love me because you don't know what I'm going through. It was a lot. It took a lot of effort to get her around. And when she didn't go through with the attempt, thankfully today she's on her way to 200 level in a government university. I have another one who was raped at 14. At 14 by her cousin. And she got pregnant from the rape. Her mom took up the matter. It led to a lot of family issues. The mom took up the child, sent her back to school. In her final year in the university, she was gang raped by a gang of 4 men.